but it hasn't always been the case. It's not no guarantee. There are definitely other factors at play, but aggression is definitely one of the variables we look at, and there's a bit of a tendency if you're a certain play style, you will tend towards more like toxic. There's a bit of a correlation there for sure. The most toxic competitive game.
Rainbow Six.
Rainbow Six is definitely up there. Oh well, it's hard to say. It's honestly, it's hard to like have a metric for any single game that's competitive. But by far, for some reason, FPS is as an entire genre is way more toxic than the other genres.
Yeah.
MOBAs also have that element. And then casual games, I think actually overall, it's hard to say because most of them aren't too toxic.
Yeah.
And even if you have a casual kind of mentality in a hardcore like competitive game, you're going to be less toxic generally speaking because you're less likely to kind of blame or care too much about like performance and whatnot.
Right.
So more that environment that causes it's like more of a mindset and kind of a like it's more your teammates that affect. It's like the people, not the game, to a degree. There are games that kind of foster what's more likely to be a toxic environment. But yeah, sorry, it's long-winded, but mostly it's like competitive is more toxic. FPS by far, and then casual less so.
Yeah.
As a Rocket League player, you should take a look at that game.
Oh, that's why. So I hear.
It can be bad. It can be.
I want to say like I've seen Toxicity. I mean, clearly. I mean, I'm sure we've all heard of kind of like the kind of environment that Smash has. Like Smash has been not having so great. It's not the best news lately, but I think if you kind of take away from that, there are definitely pockets of at least the local Smash community here in Philadelphia that have been extremely supportive, and just really not toxic as a whole. It's been really awesome, and there are a lot of like good role models and whatnot in the competitive side, from what I can see. So I think that the reason I think Game Karma has promise and why I was so convinced is because I think it really comes down to the mentality and like kind of guarding this kind of a safe community. Oh! Sorry, I was reacting to the game, but yeah.
No.
So I was just Wait, did he even touch you?
No, he threw a pumpkin at me.
I threw a pumpkin point blank into both of us.
I thought you just kind of get Yeah, I mean, at least we kind of had this theory that we didn't think we were alone in this for sure, and then kind of like after research and then asking around, we kind of confirmed that we weren't alone for sure, and then we set off to do these surveys and this research just to make sure that this is something that people wanted, and at least from what I can see, it's kind of a silent majority almost. It's kind of the toxicity that's the loudest, and that's kind of the reputation. But if you're having kind of people that are just kind of quiet and not adding to this toxicity, they don't really get the spotlight. It's not like kind of a loud movement. So absolutely, I think so.
Yeah. And I think another thing is that sometimes it's not just like surveying like more people who game more often. It's also talking to people who might not game as much because like they feel that certain communities are too toxic, or and they would be more than happy to like play certain games if they didn't feel like uncomfortable with the toxicity of it, or if they played with their friends who kind of can like serve as like a protective bubble in a sense when they were playing. So yeah, definitely. I mean, like Andrew said, I guess it's just that toxic people tend to be the loudest. So you see a lot of that. Maybe to some degree, that's why it seems like it's like normal or whatnot. But I definitely think it has decreased over the years. It was kind of interesting when we were. So, if you look at the old, no, no, my pumpkin.
No, my pumpkin.
I'm sorry, I totally got like distracted. But yeah, I definitely think it has decreased from where it was. It's just that it's more prominent now because online, you're more connected to the world and you're more connected to, like, in general, strangers. But initially, like, if you see a lot of the ads in for like Xbox and for some games, like, you'll actually notice that these ads tend to show like a more it's like a more toxic ad in itself too. So for example, there was like this one ad that I saw that said like, oh, this username said that he wanted to see the face of failure, and then you see like this gamer just standing there, and I think that was an ad for Xbox, if I remember correctly. So before, at least, like, before, Toxicity was kind of seen as like a almost kind of like a, oh, that's just part of the gaming community, and that's what, like, that's what you're going to be dealt with. But nowadays, as like toxic behavior becomes more and more not okay, more people are, I think, in general, being better about it. But before, it was kind of seen almost like in a way, almost like a feature, kind of like toxic behavior.
That was a good headline. It was like toxicity used to be a bug. I mean, it used to be a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, I agree with a caveat.
No!
Just because I think that like it certainly is less acceptable. I think as a community, to be toxic. I think it's definitely frowned upon, like, kind of no matter what. But I don't think necessarily it's fully just been kind of like it's hard to say. It's like it doesn't feel like it's been reduced that much, to be honest, when I'm playing. But
it's better, but it's definitely not at a stage where
I think there's a long way to go.
It's a long way to go.
And I think it really depends on what game too, because I mean some of the newer games are pretty toxic.
Oh yeah.
Like Fortnite. Fortnite. You.
So toxic.
Really? So Fortnite. What else?
Let's see. Let me think. Well, it's hard to say whether it's kind of the more kind of how much social media affects this, because I think even Smash, the newer Smash, has like kind of the community has shown a little more kind of toxicity in that regard. Like on there's beef on Twitter and stuff like that, and I think streamers kind of make that worse sometimes. Like with Fortnite too. I think a lot of the most popular streamers are probably not the best influences, to be honest.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In my opinion. So I think that breeds a different culture. Call of Duty also has never been kind of known for not known for being kind of wholesome. It's been known to be a little like there are certain, I guess, sub communities, and not to say that every player who plays those games is toxic, because I've played plenty of those games too and enjoyed them, and I've had been toxic myself at some times, but like
yeah. Oh, Valorant was a fairly new game.
Valorant was pretty toxic.
Valorant was pretty toxic. Yeah, I've only solo queued like a couple of times just because it could get so it gets so bad, and you also get a lot of toxicity. Our vision for the app is essentially right now we're focusing on matchmaking because we're looking more at like mitigation of toxicity with like by finding the right people to match with. Because there's most of the toxicity usually stems from in-group toxicity, but we do plan on having like more than just that in the future because toxicity is such a multifaceted problem. So, but in general, the app, what we hope it looks like is a pretty easy like interface where it's similar to like Tinder or Hinge, like a similar to like a the way like a dating app works, where it's you just we have these profiles in which we suggest people that we think that you'd match up with them, and then you can choose whether or not, based off of what they have on their profile, whether or not you want to play with them, and like so you can just swipe like right or left based on if you are interested.
Mm-hmm. So there's I mean, I guess the idea is to give some control back to the player to because I think a lot of the toxicity happens because of like Daisy was saying, like mismatched expectations or play styles, and then kind of having too much anonymity. Like you kind of dehumanize that username, and by having a little bit of interaction, having a profile, you kind of realize that this is a person. That's our hope for the app.
Right.